Good day. This is Albert A. Balanza, and in behalf of my co-author, Ms. Noreen S. Malabanan, we would like to present our research entitled Going Against the Tide of Adversity, Internal and External Protective Factors of Education Resilience Among Grade 12 Students. This research was conducted in 2019 at Tanza National Comprehensive High School and is now present here as part of the 5th Cavite Research Conference, or CareCon. The purpose of our basic research is to determine the relationship of certain protective factors to that of academic resilience of grade 12 students. The presence of risk factors such as poverty, conflict, and poor health has placed the Filipino student in a predicament that is most likely to lead in academic failure. In spite of this, many Filipino youth are still able to rise above the challenges of their current circumstances and were able not just to cope, but managed to demonstrate academic excellence even in the direst of situations. Thus, findings from this research are deemed useful in identifying significant relationships among variables of resilience and the risk and protective factors associated with it. Research literature on educational resilience has shown that the concepts and definition of resilience and protective factors or assets have multiple meanings. Thus, confusing aspects of the concept of resilience may persist. Resilience can be defined as a dynamic process encompassing positive adaptation within the context of serious adversity. Because resilience requires adapting to a significant threat or adversity, there must be current or past hazards proven to be detrimental to normal development. Only people who have experienced such threat and have successfully coped with it can be considered resilient, according to Maston and Colesworth in 1998. Therefore, there must be demonstrable risk to normative functioning, and moreover, resilience is an inferential and contextual construct that requires two judgment. First, threat side of the influence, and second, the criteria by which the quality of adaptation is assessed or evaluated as good. Research shows that education resilience is a desired outcome brought about by the active intervention of both internal and external protective factors. These protective factors or systems serve as a moderator of the effects of perceived threat or risk, such as extreme poverty, sickness, disability, being part of an ethnic minority, and other significant life events, in order to achieve the desired outcome. Gaps in knowledge have been identified, and thus this research aims to fill in some of these gaps by looking at educational resilience from the perspective of various groups, paying attention particularly to students who belong in either low-risk or high-risk groups. This study utilized the quantitative research approach. The quantitative measures include reported risk or life events, academic achievement, and internal and external protective factors of participants. The respondents of the study were selected grade 12 students of Tanza National Comprehensive High School for school year 2019-2020. Quota sampling was used in selecting student participants that are identified as low and high achieving based on their academic performance for the first grading period of the first semester of school year 2019-2020. This study utilized three sets of instruments, namely the Life Events Questionnaire or LEQ by Norbeck in 1984, Review of Personal Effectiveness and Locus of Control or ROPLOC by Ellis in 2002, and the Child and Youth Resilience Measure or CYRM by Unger in 2011. These instruments were used to determine the risk level of participants, their internal and external protective factors. Likewise, their academic achievement was determined based on their first semester final grades during the school year 2019-2020. The findings of our research are presented as such. This includes first, a demographic profile of the respondents in terms of their academic achievement, life events or risk to development, internal protective factors, and external protective factors. Second, relationship between internal and external protective factors and academic achievement. Third, relationship between internal and external protective factors and negative life events or risk. And then finally, internal and external protective factors that predicts the presence or absence of educational resilience. The data from the retrieved questionnaires were analyzed through statistical means. Scores from these instruments, particularly the result from the respondents' LEQ, together with their grades for the first grading of the first quarter of school year 2019-2020, were used to identify and group the respondents into four particular groups. These are the high achieving and high risk group, the high achieving and low risk group, the low achieving but high risk group, and then the low achieving and low risk group. Likewise, the respondents' answers from the rope-lock and the CYRM were also scored and encoded. The weighted mean, and standard deviation were used to present the data. For the inferential statistical analysis, the Pearson product moment coefficient of correlation was done to determine how the independent variables of internal and external protective factors affect the dependent variable of educational resilience across four groups of respondents. Multiple regression analysis, was finally used to determine which among these internal and external protective factors predicts the presence or absence of educational resilience among the participants. Using multiple regression analysis via IBM SPSS 26, it was found out that there were certain internal and external protective factors that may predict or regulate educational resilience among four groups of grade 12 respondents. This is summarized in the following table. For high achieving high risk groups, we have the overall effectiveness and cultural context identified as a predictive um, factor, both for internal and external. For the high achieving low risk group, we have quality seeking and educational context, respectively. And then the low achieving high risk group, we have time efficiency and psychological caregiving. And for the low achieving low risk group, we have leadership ability and physical caregiving. Thus, our research findings showed that education resilience, or the lack of it, is an outcome brought about by the presence or absence of certain protective factors, particularly of innate characteristics of personal effectiveness, such as overall effectiveness, quality seeking, time efficiency, and leadership ability. Likewise, one's cultural and educational context and perceived support received from physical and psychological caregivers were proven to mitigate the effects of negative life events experienced by respondents. Therefore, it has been demonstrated that these protective systems served as predictors of academic achievement despite the presence of significant life events or risk. The results of this study, particularly the data regarding the identified internal and external protective factors reported by the participants, may also be used for future intervention programs that aim to develop educational resilience among students identified to be at risk of dropping out. In conclusion, the research study has shown and verified that there are particular individual and sociological protective factors that mitigates and predicts the effects of developmental risks and threats. This study aimed to contribute to the body of knowledge surrounding education resilience by determining which among these established protective factors will likely predict academic achievement as observed from various groups. Likewise, by having a clear understanding of the dynamics of the protective factors uniquely present in these groups of students, it is recommended that school leaders and advocates to create programs that are catered to the needs of these groups. Related project proposals may include specialized LAC sessions or learning action cells with teachers that discusses the roots of resiliency. At the school level, creating an awareness campaign among the school and community on the value of nurturing educational resilience, and at a district or division level, for key leaders to recognize and appreciate the value of educational resilience in achieving the Department of Education's goals, especially in this time of pandemic. Here are the list of our research references, and I would like to thank you for the time and the opportunity to present this research here in our fifth CareCon. So thank you, and I hope you find this research enlightening and useful. Have a great day.